Hi, I'm Dominic Waddles.
And I'm Mark Rosenblatt.
And this is the MDetroit podcast.
MDetroit is a podcast where we interview artists of Detroit. We discuss their art, their lives, and many other topics. And in doing this, we hope to create a platform for artists to share their work and for you, the listener, to find out more about that artist. Dom, why don't you tell them a little bit about who we have this week on the podcast?
I would love to. On this week's podcast, we have the wonderful Kasan Belgrave. Why don't you tell them about him?
Yeah, Kasan is an amazing saxophone player. We talked to him about his legacy with his father, the late great trumpet player Marcus Belgrave. Talk about him playing by ear, and as well as talking to him about his creativity and how he uses creativity in his day-to-day life, as well as many other topics.
So now, come to our table and enjoy this wonderful conversation with Kasan Belgrave. Here we are. We have Kasan Belgrave, the great trumpeter Marcus Belgrave's son, and we went to go look for he went to go look for your bio, and we didn't find one.
Really?
So he wrote one.
Yeah, we had to write one.
And
we just compiled as much information as we could. And we just put one together. And you're more than welcome to use it, by the way, if you start putting it out.
Or you can say it's trash.
I trust him. If Mark wrote it, then I could trust him on that.
All right. So like Dom said, we start the MDetroit podcast by reading you your bio. And then after that, we're going to ask you some questions about it. Sound cool?
Yeah, sure.
Cool.
All right.
Actually, I'll read it because I wrote it,
Oh,
so.
okay. All right. Yeah, I got you.
All right. So Kasan Belgrave is one of the up-and-coming saxophonists in the Detroit music scene. Son of the late, great trumpet player Marcus Belgrave, Kasan has been making strides playing with the likes of Aretha Franklin, Racy Biggs, Rodney Whitaker, Diego Rivera, Ellen Rowe, Sean Dobbins, and many others. Kasan is a recent graduate of the University of Michigan and plays in a variety of different musical contexts and groups, including the funk group Sabbatical Bob.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Kasan.
That's pretty good. That's pretty
Cool.
good.
How would you change your new bio?
Yeah.
Well, honestly, I don't like name dropping too much,
Yeah.
all the people that you said that's on the list, I came up under and very grateful. Ellen Rowe, she was the director at U of M and recently graduated from there. Sean Dobbins has been in my life for, God, who knows how long, since I was like 6, 7, or 8, something like that. But no, I mean, honestly, that's pretty spot on. I'd add some lists. I added some names like Bob Hurst. He was my teacher at U of M as well.
Mm-hmm.
I had the pleasure of studying with Benny Green, the jazz messenger pianist. I had a very unique opportunity to play with Nicholas Payton, actually, with my father at the Detroit Jazz Festival 2014.
Mm-hmm.
The list goes on. The Gathering Orchestra, directed by Rodney Whitaker. We had guest artist Dee Dee Bridgewater, Kieran Clark Sheard. The list goes on. Aretha Franklin, that's a whole nother story. That's like 2 days of storytelling. But I'm very grateful for all the opportunities that have come my way. And it's mostly because of my dad, let's just get that out the way, he's a big name. The Belgrave name rings very, very loudly in the city of Detroit, and I'm grateful to be part of the Detroit legacy. Mm-hmm. And all we can do right now is just move forward up here. Like I said, I'm at Michigan State for grad school under Rodney, and he has a bunch of connects as well. But yeah, I'm just taking it slow. Like I said, I'm grateful for all the opportunities I've had in the past, and yeah, it can only go up from here. I'm looking to do stuff on my own. It's hard, being a son of a famous musician or a famous artist or whoever, because the shadow of it, the shoes, the responsibility you have to take on, especially he passed away. So, I'm still kind of in that learning process of, how to get it on my own, start composing on my own, getting groups together, like orchestrations and doing stuff online and, doing the Sibelius and finale stuff. So yeah, it's a learning process. Every day is a learning process for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah.
We wanted to, kind of talk a little bit about the legacy that kind of was bestowed upon you, which is that Marcus Belgrave is your dad. And, you kind of touched base, but like you mentioned that it's hard, but also I feel, doing research and noticing that like, there's this video of you playing with Racy Biggs at the DIA.
Oh yeah.
And and it was interesting because Racy does this like introduction for you. He says, this young man hit me up. He said he wants to play with me. So I was like, okay, so okay, he knows Racy because of his dad probably, but he's like, I want to step up to the plate.
Oh,
so that was a really interesting to see. Can you talk a little bit about like, those kinds of things, like taking on those opportunities and that kind of stuff?
I mean, I get a lot of inspiration from my peers. I see Alan Denard, drummer player, and he's actually one of my biggest influences, in our age group, because not only is he representing the black like black music, in Detroit, but he's going out there and risking his life. Really, literally, I had to literally yell at him for like a couple of days, like, hey, like you need to be careful. We need you in the music community, and he's out here doing all the activism and stuff like that. So, and you see Lewis Jones, he's never satisfied with his playing at all. Like he's always trying to get better. John Muir Cotton, my roommate, glad to spend some time with him, just kind of see like what he's like, and for his music, Trinino Lowe, all these guys, our age, I kind of look up to them because, they're out here, doing it big, and, it's funny because with the name I have, you would think that like, it would be easy to kind of get around the music scene and, like you have all these opportunities but these guys, like they've, I've seen them since they were, middle school, elementary school. They've been shedding every day, like just loving the music, loving, and so seeing that, it kind of gives me like some motivation. Like, hey, like, the music scene is like wide open, it's like it's ours, like it's there for the taking. Sometimes like you go through like your own like what do you call it? Insecurities,
Right.
You go through your own stuff in your mind sometimes, and he's like, oh, sometimes I don't know if I can do this, I don't know if I could pull off this music that I'm trying to write, I don't know if I could, bring this group of people together and make what I want to make. But seeing these guys out here, it's truly like, it's good to have like a good working group of guys like around me, and just like seeing it on like social media, like like these guys are like, they want it, and it just it's great to like have that sort of energy,
Totally.
Yeah.
So, just in general, you grew up in Detroit. You grew up around your father. How has the Detroit scene impacted you as Kasan Belgrave?
Well, there's a bunch of people I got to give credit to. One of my most my biggest influence is Wendell Harrison and Pamela Wise. They started. Well, I started playing piano around like 4 or 5, and I went to Wendell Harrison's house like every Saturday morning, not to study with Wendell, but to study with his wife Pam on piano, and we would do all these classical etudes, and that's kind of how it started up. And then, Pam was like, hey, maybe you should venture out to some other instruments. And I didn't have to go anywhere because Wendell was right there downstairs,
Right.
So I picked up the clarinet when I was 7 or 8. We started doing lessons, and I really started to really get serious about clarinet. And maybe like a couple years after that, I told Wendell like, hey, I want to play saxophone. And my dad was like, he was actually kind of like, sort of iffy about it. He's like, oh, you should, because at this point, like I was playing, I learned drums when I was 2 years old. I started on drums when I was 2.
We're gonna get to that.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I was very sporadic in my interests. So starting on drums on 2, starting on piano 3 years later at 5, 6 years old, starting a clarinet. So like you can just see like the pattern. Like I'm like trying to get to like trying to get everything under my belt. As a kid, because like I had so much energy. But yeah, like Pam and Wendell, very big. That was my start. Because whenever my dad wasn't around, like they will always kind of pick up the slack. Because my dad was still out playing gigs. And he was getting old too. So, and Wendell has like such a young spirit. Like he's, oh my goodness, we can get into that. But yeah, that was it. And then actually in high school, I went to Southfield Christian High School, which is a private, private Christian school.
Yeah.
Class D, like 200 students in the whole school, very small. We didn't have any sort of like jazz band, concert band. We had one band under a guy named Mr. Bush. Shout out to John Bush. It was about like 25, 30 piece band, but there's no all state, like I never went to all state in high school. I never did any competitions. So, but what saved me was the civic youth program at the DSO, Detroit Symphony Orchestra. That's where I met Alan Denard. That's where I met Lewis. That's where I met Stephen Grady, Nolan Young, Alex Callista, Nicholas Masters, Kayvon Gordon, like all the bad cats of our generation. Like I met them there. We kind of came together there, and I actually was starting. I played clarinet in John Bechet's group, Combo A.
Okay.
And that was in 8th grade, and in 9th grade, I actually quit jazz at the Detroit Symphony Orchestra, Civic Youth Ensembles, and I was in the Wind Symphony at the DSO, and that was like a whole different type of experience. And so, kind of playing clarinet, kind of because clarinet's like a classical instrument, so that kind of helped me sort of with like the theory of jazz, and going on to high school, like I started playing saxophone more in the DSO, the jazz orchestra, and it was kind of like even though I didn't have band in high school, like I would go to the DSO every Wednesday, and Sean Dobbins was there, and it was very that's kind of like the meat of like my growth throughout high school and stuff like that. And the first time I met Andrew Bishop was also at the Detroit Symphony Orchestra, and he ended up becoming my teacher at U of M for jazz sax. So it was just like it kind of just went sort of random, I think I kind of regretted not going to like Detroit public school for high school, because at Cass or Renaissance or Detroit School of the Arts, they have like band programs,
Right.
So that's one thing I should have done differently, but Other than that, I think it was a pretty steady road to get to where I'm at now. But yeah, like the DSO was kind of like that, the old stomping grounds for me.
Yeah.
Well, you're unique for not going to CAS and all those places. You're coming from you have a different perspective
Yeah.
on it. So
Yeah.
the more perspectives, the more we got.
I think my mom was sort of scared for me to be in Detroit public schools. But yeah, that would have been something, because I feel like I would have been more connected in terms of networking, and not that like not that it's like any different now, but it would have been interesting to see like the come up, if I went to like CAS or Renaissance or something like that. But
Right.
we're here now, so it's cool. it's all good.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Speaking of Detroit, you're a active participator in the scene. Playing with the likes of like Vincent Chandler. There's a bunch of those videos up on YouTube.
Yeah,
you guys playing with
I love Vince.
Yeah, it's Vincent Chandler, Cliff Monier, Jonathan Meercotton, and Sean Perlmutter on drums. Playing a bunch of Thelonious Monk music, and then there's videos of you playing in Burt's Marketplace, So you're all over. So can you talk a little bit about what your thoughts are on the scene as it is right now, and just like general things about it that your thoughts.
Yeah, like I said, the like our generation, with like guys like John, Trinino, Lewis, they're like the catalyst for like the next generation. And you also have like the guys a little bit older than us, like Marcus Elliott, Michael Malice, John Taylor, Steve Bakerhold, Ben Ralston. That scene, Nate Wynn. You got all these guys. You got so many. The list goes on. Like we can say Chris Johnson. Yeah. Dang, Sasha Kasperico, Deshaun Jones. Yep. We could name drop all day. I'm sorry. But hey, like the scene is very. I think I'm too young to. It's too early to say right now, like what the scene, like what I think the scene would be. But for now, I think the scene is right where it needs to be. There's a lot of stuff going on, and I actually I'm not really too like immersed into the scene like these other guys are, but from like an outlier standpoint, right. I can definitely tell that it's moving in a great direction. We got jazz happening, we got a fusion of like trap, jazz, like R&B. I really like it actually. I was just talking to Deshaun the other day, and like I was showing him some, like, we were talking about like trap being infused into like jazz and like this new age type of like fusion going on, and he was right with me, like, and I didn't expect somebody like Deshaun like to be like so like there like with what I was saying. And it's just funny because like there's like, yeah, it's just a new age. Like I don't know how to explain it, but like jazz is moving forward, like not just in Detroit, like LA, New York, everywhere. Like the music is changing, like regardless. But I feel like Detroit is such a key part because we have all this rich history and we have all this youth as well. So combine history and youth, and it's just something totally like new. And like I said, like I don't know where it's going, but like it's going somewhere. Like, and we're in a good place right now, and like I hope to be like a main source of like that moving forward type of motion with the music here, because man, like, and for me as a composer, I'm not trying to regurgitate anything that has already been said or that's already been recorded. So my mindset is you know, I want to kind of just like observe the playing field and see like what these other cats are doing and like what they're doing sonically, you know, and I kind of want to feed off of that. And I'm being patient with like my compositions, and people are always asking me like, oh, when are you gonna come out with an album? When are you gonna come out with this? Blah blah blah. I don't see you on the scene like as much. I'm like, that's true, but very
You
true.
right.
That's very true. Like, and I need to be more like hands on. You know, just going to school. You know, getting a degree. You know, I'm kind of not necessarily preoccupied, but like, you know, I'm focused to like get school done first. But you know, I wish that like, you know, the next couple of years like I have something to offer, you know.
You will.
I mean, yeah, and I mean I of course have something to offer, but I want it to be new. Like like if I hand you my guys' my EP or my album, I want you guys to be like, whoa, like I want you to like like I want people to be surprised. So, and right now, compositional wise, like I don't think I'm there yet, and that's completely fine from what I'm thinking. So
We typically ask our guests to send us some of their music. So if you have anything that you would be okay to like sneak peek.
Oh, right now?
No, not like now, but like
Okay.
we'll play it at the beginning of the episode.
Oh yeah, sure, yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely got some stuff. Yeah.
All right, sweet.
Just like little trailers.
yeah, trailers. We're not gonna
no.
we're not gonna release just yet.
I can't give them all.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Give that to them. I can't do it. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like when people ask me, I'm like, you know what? I really don't know if you want to listen to that right now. Like, I feel like I don't think it's ready. I don't think it's time yet. I feel like, you know, certain things take patience. You know, and you know, and it's like if you rush somebody into doing something, like it's not gonna be the same.
Yeah.
Like it's not gonna be the same. Like chemically like balanced like energy that like you like that it was, you know. So, you know, I think patience is key.
Definitely.
Sure. Yeah.
I was actually gonna just touch on the fact you were saying about jazz and the combining. A lot of old cats don't like it, and the one thing I think about it is Miles Davis did this in his day.
Ooh.
He did it his whole
Let's
life.
Talk about Miles. Let's talk about Miles.
And Miles, he would be so frustrated with where we are right now.
Oh, you think so?
Because a lot of people were still playing the same.
Oh
music.
yeah. I feel you.
And not to get me wrong, there are a lot of people producing a lot of different jazz. Like we have people like Shabbat Hutchings over in Europe, and they're taking a whole different drive to jazz.
Shabbat Hutchins is bad, man.
It's a good cat. We have him. We have Kamasi Washington. We have people like Terrence Martin, who is already doing this with producing rappers' albums.
Yeah.
And making his own. And it's like you can put on his stuff and just listen to it.
Yeah, but then you also listen to him play.
Right. And you're like seeing him live with Herbie when he came to Detroit, I was like,
yeah,
this man's playing everything.
Right, exactly. and people are still like, there's still like a level of hate that people have like for like this new.
I think it's a good thing though, because what it is it's the thing about jazz is that, like, you know, traditionally it is like this, you know, cultural music. It is Black American music, you know, and that has always been like not like trying to like make people angry, but like be like, yo, check this out. This is some like next level stuff right here.
Yeah.
And like the stuff that Herbie and Terrace and all the people that you mentioned, it's almost like punk rock, where it's like meant to like make people uncomfortable, but like jazz is the actual, like, you know, the originator of that thing, where it's like, you know, you listen to Coltrane in the 60s or something, or Miles in the 60s for that matter, people get uncomfortable about that.
Man, I'm telling you,
right?
like I have a bunch of stories about Miles. I'm glad you brought Miles up. So, yeah, so first of all, shout out to Nolan Young. He that's my boy. He's actually taking up hot glass blowing now at his dad's studio at the Russell Industrial Center. he's the one. We got together at the DSO, like I said, and I started hanging out with him, and he his desire to listen and to search for more music is boundless. We drove to New York. I think it was 2014, and he had this cassette tape of Miles Davis, Nefertiti, and the thing I liked about this record so much was the cassette tape was tuned a little bit sharp. So you know what I'm saying? You just picture that in your head. So we drive to New York, it's a 20-hour round trip basically. We listened to the whole thing on repeat, nothing else. And around this time, I was 16 or 17. I was still in high school. I had an absolute disgust with Wayne Shorter.
Wow.
Absolute disgust.
I understand though. I understand.
And it all makes sense now. What Nefertiti is what year is that? 1968. So yeah, so that was after all of the second, that was at the end of the second quintets. So what they played, they played Pinocchio slow, as a ballad. We can talk about all that stuff, but just the fact that I didn't like Wayne Shorter that much because of his sound and the abrasiveness, the fact that I listened to it on repeat that whole car ride to and from New York, it made me it just forced me to listen, because of if you hear a person's sound for the first time, you'd be oh, you're gonna find everything that you don't like about it.
Yeah.
Right.
And then the stuff that you don't like about it is just gonna pop up, and that's just what you think. So listening to that whole album on repeat just made me find the things that I liked about him. And after I got out that phase of not liking Wayne, I started listening to second quintet just in general. And Miles, the way, I don't think his playing is the reason why it's so great. I think it's him bringing those people together, those guys together.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that all of them have pretty distinct personalities, they all come together and they make new, they make shit new, and maybe it might be a little bit uncomfortable, maybe the sound and the sonic, sonically it might be a little bit dissonant, it might be a little bit
right,
it might throw you off, it might be a little bit
I don't know about that.
but if you listen, who else did that? Who else made new stuff like that? And that was 1968.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, I think Miles is jazz god. I don't care what nobody says, he was one of the only ones to push music to its limits, he pushed music to a level of uncomfortability, you know what I'm saying? He made people uncomfortable, like you said. And it's not because he's an asshole, maybe he was, but I feel he did that for us right now. For whatever everybody's doing right now, that's a product of what Miles was doing. And so when people say oh yeah, Miles Davis, he ruined jazz, or jazz died in 1959, no. I really think that what the music is now is a product of what he did back then. And yeah, so maybe the old heads don't like this fusion thing. Maybe they don't like the trap with the jazz, or maybe they don't like all these effects on swinging albums, because there's a lot out there,
Right.
Glasper, Terrace Martin, all these
Braxton Cook.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Dave, the drum heads,
Mm-hmm.
So I think that he did what was supposed to do, and what is happening now can't be discredited, because of what Miles may have done. Like everything shouldn't have to be discredited, like everything that people are putting out, they're putting out for a reason. You know what I mean? They're not gonna just put, and don't get me wrong, there's musicians out here who are putting out stuff just for the heck of it. Maybe they're doing it for a hobby, maybe, but like, so what if the music's off? Maybe it's, it's not your best, like it's not your cup of tea, but people do it for a reason, and
that's why it's art.
That's why it's art.
And who says art has to be perfect? Art's not perfect at all,
There's no perfect art. That's what
there's
makes
no perfect
art.
And you talk about somebody like who's not perfect. Like Miles played a lot of wrong notes. But he sure made those wrong notes sound good.
He made he made the wrong notes like right. Like he told Herbie Hancock to stop playing all the butter notes.
Yeah.
Like
he was just telling me about that yesterday.
You saw the interview?
Yeah. Hey, don't play the butter notes. Cause he was like, I was so frustrated with my playing.
Right.
And then Miles noticed, he was like, don't play the butter notes. Don't resolve to what you think you need to resolve to.
Right.
Yeah.
And then on Nefertiti, if you hear the original take of Pinocchio and the slow version of Pinocchio, the slow version, you could hear Herbie like because all they do is play the melody on the slow version. So all he does is play butter notes. Like he just backs him up, But on the swinging take, on the medium swing take, like Miles solos first, he backs off, like he just lets him do it. The sound, like Miles's sound, like without the changes, it makes the song so much different. Mm-hmm. And then Wayne comes in and he's like, he thinks that Wayne's playing the changes, but he ends up not playing the changes, and he's like backs off. So it's always like, like Miles kind of like made a way of like not of like how to play, like how to cite the changes and when not to, and like when the perfect time is and when not to. So I don't like, I think Miles is the greatest. That's kind of like my point.
You are, Miles. If you hear.
Yeah.
So, even though we got to Miles Davis, we kind of want to hear some defining moments of yourself. Mm-hmm. Like, what are some moments that have made you Kasan Belgrave?
Well, the Aretha Franklin gig was very like okay, I could do this, the fact that she called me like from her own cell phone was just outrageous.
Okay.
Wow,
outrageous.
How was that like? Can you tell a little bit about how that situation happened?
So I did a
Hello.
It's Miss Franklin. Yeah, I don't know. That was scary, man. Oh my goodness. But yeah. So I did a video shoot in the morning on Live and D with my dad's widow, Joan Belgrave. Mm-hmm. And apparently Miss Franklin saw the video, and she called Ralph Armstrong. And Ralph called me, and I think he was texting me for like 2 weeks, like, hey, like Miss Franklin wants to call you, like be by your phone. And like, I think he texted me like twice. Like he texted me one day, and then he was like, the next day he texted me again. And then I was waiting for like a week, and I was like, no call, no text. I'm like, dang, like I was answering every like phone, every number that came up on my phone. I was like, okay.
Your car insurance.
Would you like to redo?
Seriously, no. I was answering every call, and 2 weeks went by, and Ralph, I think, called me like the night before she called me, and so he's like, hey man, like he said the exact same thing. Hey man, like she's gonna call you, like just be ready. Like I know you're excited. I'm like, it's been 2 weeks. Come on, like,
stop lying.
like what's going on? And so I wake up. This is my sophomore year at U of M. I wake up at like 9:30, and she like this number comes up, and I'm not expecting it to be her anymore because it's been like 2 weeks. And I was like, "Hello, half sleep, I'm still in my bed." And she's like, "Mr. Kasan Belgrave." I'm like, I get up. I'm like, "Oh crap." Yeah, who's this? And she's like, "This is Miss Franklin. I wanna call you to come to Studio A in Dearborn and record with me." I'm like, "Miss Franklin, you don't know how long I've been waiting for this call. You are the greatest singer of all." Like I told her she was like, "You are the greatest singer of all time. Like I want to know every story like that you have with my dad and like everything. I want to know about Motown." She's like, "Yeah. We'll get to that. Like, just
we'll get to that.
Yeah, come to the studio, And my mom and I we drove to Dearborn, and Galen McKinney's on the session. Bad organ player. I forgot his name.
Is it Gerard Gibbs?
No, he's
Is he a Detroiter?
He's a Detroiter. He's like a church cat. I don't know. I have to ask him. I didn't know him when I met him. So
his name is because he's my brother's godfather.
What?
And Daryl.
Daryl. Yes.
Daryl.
What's his last name?
I don't know his last name, but
Daryl.
His name's Daryl. Yeah.
Yeah. Bad organ player. Who else? Who else is on it? Anyway, I forgot. Yeah, of course me. Fred Nelson was directing. Fred Nelson III. But when I walked in, she was sitting in the studio chair, like the director's chair, and I'm so starstruck, and my mom like immediately goes sits on the couch, doesn't even say hi to her, and then not because because just out of respect, because actually Joan spoke to Aretha about me before I even got to the studio, and so she saw my mom. And so she, she didn't really know she didn't know that was my biological mom.
Oh, okay.
So my mom, just kind of like sat aside, just a little bit, quiet. And she gets me. We wait for like an hour because we individually track. So I think Galen goes in, tracks. Daryl goes in and tracks, and she calls me in, and we do Marvin Gaye's "What's Going On," and she tells me to take the solo like on the bridge, and I think we did like 1 or 2 takes, and she like stopped me and she was like, "That's very good, like that's very good." I'm like, "Really?" She's like, "Yeah." She's like, and then she started telling all these stories like through the booth, like "Oh yeah, like your dad and I, Charlie Gabriel, we went on this long tour," and started telling all these stories. And I'm like, wow, like I'm really talking to Aretha Franklin
right now.
And we do the session, and we take a picture with her. I'm just sitting there like, holy crap, like I'm literally about to perform with like the greatest singer of all time. And so she calls me in for another session. And the record that I found out that the record that we were doing was she sang on it. She sang like one song. I think she sang on "What's Going On." But the record date was for her son. It was for her son's thing, and she told me that like Jamie Foxx and Stevie Wonder was gonna be like co-producing like the album or whatever. And I think it got unreleased. I think it's unreleased. Like, I think the family has it right now.
Okay.
And then the next, I think that summer, because this was like in February. So that summer, the Detroit Music Festival.
Yeah.
In June, it was like the second annual festival of that one, and Aretha's like, this is like a year before she died, so. they got her to do like encore, like last performance, in her hometown, and she asked me to do Skylark with her, like solo. And there's a video on YouTube, and I was very nervous. You can tell I was very nervous, because I started thinking about like, oh man, she's like, this is her last performance in Detroit, like, all this stuff. Like, oh, my dad. I started thinking about all this stuff, and it got really emotional actually. And we do the song, and it's like she's like being entouraged by like fans, paparazzi. There's like limos all everywhere. There's helicopters flying. Like, she has a big white gown.
Yeah.
It was one for the books, for real. And she, like, it was a big performance. So there's dancers, there's the orchestra, there's Fred Nelson, the director, there's Daryl, there's like all these guys, and we all meet up at the music hall, to like to just say bye, like get paid, and hey, yeah.
Is it true she pays in cash? Okay.
If you didn't say that, I was not gonna say it. I was not gonna say anything, because boy, yeah, that was.
I just asked because I remember I was talking to Ron Otis, and he was like, "Yep, she calls you into the dressing room. She says that's yours, and you just go."
She had like a Louis duffel.
Was she just reaching out?
She had a Louis duffel bag, and like there's like 3 security guards like in the room with her, and she just sitting there like hello, you did so great. Like, I might just call you again or something. I'm like, okay. And she like reaches in the duffel bag, counts it up, and she lays it there. She's like, well, you have a good day now. I'm like,
you have a good day now.
That's amazing.
I'm like, wow. Like, and I was actually like, I was looking around, like, because we walked out the music hall, and I'm like, oh no, like I'm in danger. like this is not where I'm supposed to be. Should be going to the parking lot right now. But no, that was an incredible experience. And she actually was, I was supposed to sign to her branch of Warner, Columbia Records. I was supposed to sign to her branch, her Aretha's Records of Columbia, and that never happened. But just the fact that like, just to share, like, just to, like.
Sorry,
no, it's okay.
Alarm.
Oh no, it's okay. But you know how, like, you ever think about like history, and like, you ever think about when you meet like a old, like, somebody who's like been like,
What has been,
like, what I'm saying, like, you look them up on YouTube, there's like a whole bio on Wikipedia, like you see like that, and like you would never think that you would like cross paths with somebody like that. Like, that's how it felt. Like, it was like I'm like on like her side of history, like I ran into her, she like knows my name, she like called me, she texted me, like, what?
Yeah.
Aretha Franklin? Like, are you serious? Like, so that was going through my head. And yeah, man, it was, I hope that something like that can happen again, because that was once in a lifetime, really.
You guys hear that? Whoever it is. Come on, Jamie.
Oh man, that would be great too. That would be great. Yeah, Stevie.
Totally. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Well, kind of want to move on to you play you actually found this out from Rob.
Yeah.
Rob Python.
Rob Python.
Yeah, Rob. It was at like a Wayne thing, just like Wayne State. Like,
Was it Jazz Week at Wayne?
yeah, it was Jazz Week at Wayne, and I was one of the like student teachers there, just helping out. And then I heard Vincent Chandler and Rob Python talking. I think they were talking about like having you on like a jazz festival date or something. But one of them mentioned, they're just like, man, he like, he hears what he plays,
Definitely.
And I was like, okay, I'm just keep that in the back of my mind, And then like I was like, listening, and I was just like, yeah, man. they're not wrong.
Oh man, sometimes I do it too much to like a disadvantage sometimes, but yeah.
Can you talk about that, like a little bit about?
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah. So I have perfect pitch, so like, like everything I listen to, like for jazz records, like I transcribe, like I hear every note, and I hear nothing but those notes, and that's kind of like there's some disadvantages to that, like just having like spontaneity, is that how you say it? Spontaneity, with like just your ideas, because if you know every note you're about to play, you don't know anything else. So how, like, what type of creativity outside of that can you have, at some, at a certain point. So I kind of had to like learn how to like disengage my perfect pitch with like music sometimes, depending on like what type of music I'm playing, like for instance, like I had a gig this past weekend with Etienne Charles, a professor for trumpet at MSU, and we're playing a bunch of his tunes, and it's it's Trinidadian music, so it's like a bunch of like different Caribbean rhythms and stuff like that, and his chord progressions are very like wide open, and so like that kind of like that kind of made me like sort of play without like any tonal centers. Like it kind of like it's like more of like an open range of sound, not just like 2-5-1s, or like some dominant chords, So I kind of like sometimes I have to throw the theory out of my head sometimes, because theory is so like it's so what do you call it? It's
very restrictive.
Yeah.
Like closes off your peripheral vision.
Yeah, it's very literal, and so sometimes like when I'm playing like other people's music, I kind of have to throw like all that structural like theory out the door, because you can't really find like that, like when people say like, oh, like he's playing out, like it's not really out, because it's just like you're like people who play like that, they're using more note like combinations than like what a regular like jazz standard would use, 2-5-1 stuff like that. But if you have like a modal type of sound like in a piece of music, then like you're more like bound to like have different combinations of like how you use like you can use 2-5-1s, but it's like you could modulate them, you could substitute them. It's like, but you don't use those terms to express like that type of sound, So, yeah, I mean like Train, of course, like he has like those circle fifths, and that's actually a perfect example, because it's still like theory, but he kind of like made it to not use it. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like it's kind of hard to explain, but like what's the song, like you guys know Fifth House like on Coltrane Jazz? It's like a contrafact of what is this thing called Love, but it's Coltrane changes. And so like without the Coltrane changes in your mind, like that shit's like music. It's like sound all together. It's like every sound possible all at once. Like whatever that abstract like expression of what is on the camera. Like like have you ever seen Miles's art? Like it's very it's very colorful, but like just I don't know, like just let's see
this one.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like you think that like he would start off with like an outline, but not really though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I actually wouldn't imagine that Miles would start with an outline. Like
Exactly.
I
yeah.
feel like he would just yeah, he would just go.
Yeah. So whatever comparison that is with something like that song, like there's a structure to it, but like when you take the idea of the structure out, it's just art, you know? And it's like the sound of it is so like it doesn't make sense, but it does. I don't know how that's something I'm searching for right now. But
There's a lot of that in Jacob Collier's music.
That's
another dude. Like what? Yeah, we don't even have to talk about that.
And you know what's crazy is it's like he's a jazz artist that is a pop musician. You know, and he gets a lot of flack for that. But man, he doesn't deserve that.
He doesn't. Like,
he does not.
he do you guys know the song he did it with Mahalia? It's like his new one.
Yeah.
What is that song called?
I hear it every day.
Yeah. But like that is so nice.
Yeah.
Because, you know, he has that boom, 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 and then boom, boom, boom. It's just like, okay.
Yeah. It's a
All I
vibe.
need.
And he does it in a shed. In a shed.
All I need.
Yeah.
All I need, yeah.
Oh, is this too? Oh no.
No. I'm not sure.
Can you talk? So you're besides being a player, you're also an educator. Can you talk a little bit about your teaching and like learning approaches?
Yeah. So I like to. I mean, for my students, like I like to hop on, like scales. Like the scales is the most important for sure. How I learned is I actually funny. So I'm gonna tell you something that I don't usually tell people. I mean, unless they already know. But so I play alto sax. So I have trouble reading for alto like clef. So so when I get a piece of music, whether it be for saxophone, clarinet, flute, I like the changes to be in concert. Part of that is because I, studying piano, like C is C on the piano. And like when I play, like the piano's in my head, like I picture middle C. And so, so for, learning how to play through changes for jazz, I start with, when I'm teaching a student, like I start with, scales. And I usually don't. I usually say like, hey, like play a concert G or play a concert B. For altos, it's like play a G, like you're a G, and even me, like I get confused by that. So I like to say like, concert B flat, concert G, and so so like when I start for my students, like when I say play B flat, like they usually think like, oh, concert D flat for their instrument, but like that's just how I work. That's how I've kind of envisioned like what the notes are in my head and stuff like that. So I go through all the scales, like major scales, minor scales, harmonic scales, melodic, minor, all that. I have them check out the basics, like Kind of Blue, Miles Davis, We Three, like Roy Haynes,
Yeah.
Finest Newborn. That's like just for like swing and feel. That's kind of like
That record is so
yeah, man. That's the record I go to for like just like feel and like just the motion of like the swing.
That's another one of those guys that people don't talk too much about.
Finest.
Yeah, Phineas.
Oh yeah, man. Like that We Three was the record that my mom had on like every single day. Like
Wow.
probably like before I was even born. Like I came out the womb like like listening to We Three. Like, so yeah, man. Like Finest, like that's my favorite piano player for sure. Just feel wise, you know. Roy Haynes is, you know, obviously he's still living. You know, the greatest living drummer of all time. But yeah, yeah, Kinda Blue, We Three. Of course, like, you know, Giant Steps. You know, once we get down to you know, past the basics and stuff like that.
Right.
But yeah, and honestly, like, there's too many records. There's too many records out there to check out. So, you know, for your teachers to say like, "Oh, check this out," and like you just stick on that, like, you know, like for me when I was growing up, I had, you know, my mom has like a huge collection like of jazz CDs. She probably has two of every CD that she has. So, you know, I always like just taking out records randomly, putting in, scrolling to whatever song, taking it out, you know, next record. So I'm very like sporadic and like just like what I want to listen to. So I kind of encourage my students to say like to kind of like figure it out on your own. Like kind of, you know, there's so many records out there. Like you can't really like say like stick on this one for a long time, especially when you're young. Like you have you're so antsy and so like, you know, like nervous. So like you kind of gotta like just go wherever your heart says. So, you know, I kind of like tell them, you know, hey, like just I'm gonna give you this one record. Like, you know, go on YouTube, find it. If it doesn't recommend you to like the same similar type of album, then like just search up the artist, look up, just go through all their records. You know, any of the sidemen that's on that record, like search their name up. You know, look at what type of albums they're on. But yeah, like, and it depends on like what type of experience the student has. You know, if they're young, elementary school, like, you know, I give them a little bit space. But, you know, if they're in high school and above, you know, maybe like, you know, I'll start being more like, have more emphasis on like scales and like breathing, stuff like that. But yeah, like cause, you know, as a teacher, like you're also learning as well. So, and you can learn a lot from your students, you know.
You'll learn every day.
I swear.
You might learn Snapchat, or you might learn somebody you didn't even know about in the jazz community.
Man, if I could learn Snapchat, that would be.
If I could learn Facebook.
Yeah, I don't.
To be honest, Facebook is updating every day.
Yeah,
Man,
Facebook and Snapchat. I don't even have Snapchat. Like that's the thing, man. Is like.
Yeah,
I use it for group chats.
They're like, there's like these avatar things now. I'm like, what?
Is this the Wii?
Yeah, man. Technology is on the rise, man. For real. And that's what makes it so much. It makes it fun to search. You know, like I remember when we first got YouTube, like everything was on there, and now like literally everything is on there. Like every record. Like you could find Benny Rubin's album on YouTube, Trinino's album on YouTube. Like you could find some deep cuts, like whether that be from here, like LA, like anywhere. So like I encourage people to like just like check out records. Like if they never heard jazz before in their lives, like, you know, check out Feel Machado, you know? Like, check out stuff that's not even jazz, you know? Something that just sounds, like, good and just, like, soothing. You know, because, like, what is music, like, when we're not feeling anything? We're just playing music just to regurgitate it, you know? Like, you know?
I feel like that's one of those things where it's, like, I definitely had that mentality where I was like, oh, I'm in, like, school for jazz, or, like, I'm trying to learn, like, how to play. And it's like, okay, I only have to listen to jazz, but it's like, no, I think that like the jazz musician is still the person who is trying to play like music that feels good and like is for like to listen to, not just for somebody who's trying to learn how to play jazz. It's not like educational material that you're trying to digest. for the sake of education, but it should be like you like this music because it is like feel good,
right?
Stuff like that.
Unless you're like Wynton Marsalis, like, you know, he's like, you know, he arranges and writes every single second, you know, like he's never not writing or composing or arranging. And that's probably why people say like, you know, cause I mean, like he's made it known that like he doesn't like rap music or like other things outside of jazz, but you know, that's who he is, you know, like he grew up with a family like that. Branford, Delphio, Jason, his dad, Ellis, like that's what he was made to do. And he's like he's like the ambassador for jazz, you know, and for a good reason, because like he never seems to find an end to his creativity it's jazz. Like he's not going outside the genre, you know. And I respect him for that. Wynton's like, yeah. Shout out to Wynton Marsalis.
So, is there something that you will never forget that you have learned that you pass on to your students, or you just use as a daily basis for yourself?
Something I would never forget.
It could be like a quote or like a concept,
a book, movie, anything.
I mean, yeah, like, you know, my dad, he said, I mean, like there's a bunch of stuff that he said that like I would never forget, but I don't remember. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of instances and experiences where like he will always say like, look around you, like all the time. Like just like look around. And I never got that concept in my head. And you know, like, and he wasn't even being specific about anything. He was just saying, just pay attention. And that's kind of like what his message was. And now, like, you know, like I'm a little bit older now, like my early 20s, like, and, you know, you see all this shit that's going on in the world and shit. And it's like, wow, like, yeah, like you gotta look around. You gotta pay attention, like, see what's going on. And I think what he also meant by that was, like be careful, like, because the world is so open to everybody, and we could be getting into anything, like whether it's positive or negative effect on us. But he's just saying, like, I think he was saying, like, yeah, just be careful with what you choose, because yeah, as a young man, like we like our attention span is so broad, you know, and luckily like there's music, you know, because you know, without music I don't know what I'd be doing, you know. But you know, I think he was just kind of saying like, hey, like make sure you're doing what you were made to do. Like, don't be out here doing, yeah, it's like don't be doing what you're not supposed to be doing, you know. Like, don't get involved in drugs. Don't get involved in, like, don't be surrounded by bad people, you know. Choose your friends wisely, you know. Make the right decisions. Make, you know, like, be pleasant with people, you know. And, yeah, so I don't think he really said anything to me specific, but, yeah, that was one thing. He also told me, like, you know, like, work on your craft every day, you know. You know, it's hard to, like, you know, practice, you know, 3 or 4 different instruments every day, you know. But, you know, like, if you really want it, like, you gotta do it. And, you know, he used to tell me all these stories about him practicing for his dad, like, back in the day, like, during war times, you know, completely different time, you know. His dad would have him wake up at 5 a.m., 6 a.m., and he would be practicing for like 4 hours, like a day. And like after that, they would like roll like barrels of coal like up the hill, down the hill and shit, because they're like in this coal mining area of Philadelphia. And after that, he would practice 4 more hours. So him having that like cemented like in his childhood, that just kind of stuck with him. And so, you know, you hear about guys saying like, oh yeah, like shed 8 to 10 hours a day. And, you know, honestly, like even for me, like that's impossible for me. That's like times are different now, you know? But, you know, as musicians, like if we want to get to a certain level, like we gotta like call all the bullshit and like, you know, if we really want to do this, like we gotta practice at what we do. Because, you know, you see basketball players, all they do is work out every day, shoot 2,000 shots a day, you know, go to sleep, ice. Same thing with music. Like we gotta get up, like put some air in the horns, like get our fingers warm, like, you know, it's a art, and it's like it's practice, it's workout, you know, it's the same thing. So yeah, he just told me, basically it was just like stick to your craft, you know, don't lose sight of like what you love, and if you love something else, like make sure you put 100% effort, you know. So that's kind of what it was. Yeah.
So besides music, what are some things or hobbies you do that are not music affiliated?
You know, I enjoy cooking a lot. You know, everybody loves to eat, so you know, and you get tired of restaurants, you know, cooking the same way that they do. So you go home and trying to like make your own creations. You know, I was playing basketball for a long time. I still do, almost every day actually. So playing basketball, cooking, playing video games, of course, 2K, Madden. You know, yeah, you know we got off to a bad start. What's his name? Screw it, but we'll get back to that. What else? I like you know, going out, like I kind of like making trips, you know, like road tripping, stuff like that. Like I like traveling, but I don't like flying really. I wish there's like just, I mean, I'm not scared of flying, but it's like I hate like international travel. Like I go to Japan, like I've been like from when I was born to when I was like maybe high school, I went every year to Japan, and we were stuck on a 15-hour flight every time, and like damn, like do I really want to do this? Like every time I want to get out the US, like, and so yeah, so what else? Yeah, man, I love playing music, man. I love getting together with cats and playing, you know. Like we don't have, like, especially now, we don't have too much leeway into getting together and playing anymore in the same room because of the virus. But you know, I feel like after this, whenever this is done, yeah, I think we're just gonna appreciate music way more than we've already, you know, appreciated in the past. But yeah, man, it's a whole circle, you know. Like, you like music, you like sports. If you like sports, you like music. If you like music, then you like food, you know. If you like food, then you like drinking, you know. If you like drinking, then you like partying. You know what I mean? Like,
It's like partying.
The list goes on, man. Yeah. But yeah, man, I think my goal, like in the next, like for grad school and for, like, you know, onward to my career, is just like like getting in the shed, you know. We all heard of like the Sonny Rollins story about like the bridge and stuff, like, you know, how he went and just like disappeared and isolated. I feel like that's gonna be coming for me very soon, because I haven't really had that much time to focus on like my craft, like seriously. And so I feel like maybe like in the next few years I'll like kind of like take a break from, like, you know, the rest of the world, and kind of like hone in on like what I like, my sound, you know.
The Charlie Parker.
Yeah.
The Charlie Parker.
And like it doesn't even have to be saxophone. Like I could disappear and like come back like a producer or like an executive chef or something like that, you know. But it's all about like what I want to put my energy into, and yeah.
So we have this section that we do in pretty much every single podcast that you've listened so far. This is called Hip the Listener. This is where we have you, the guest, hip the listeners to anything, whether it be music, events, movies, documentaries, or whatever you want. Hip the listener.
I have a lot. Quincy Jones, the Deadly Affair. He scored this movie called The Deadly Affair. I think 1972. No. Yeah, it's somewhere in the late 60s, early 70s. But yeah, that's one of my favorite albums right now. Deadly Affair. Records. Yeah, Miles Davis, Nefertiti, Miles Davis, Live at the Plug Nickel.
Yes,
Live
sir.
at the Plug Nickel is one of the greatest. Herbie Hancock, I got a bunch of Herbie Hancock albums. Inventions and Dimensions. What else? Driftin'. Joe Henderson 4. That's been on my repeated list. Lee Morgan, Sonic Boom. That's like, I listened to that record like all the time when I was a kid. I just rediscovered it. Man, like Marcus Belgrave, Gemini 2. That's one of my favorite albums of all time. What else? Art Tatum. Like Art Tatum is always in my rotation. Philo Machado. Yeah, I'm very random with like my selections.
You're good, man.
But yeah, and that's kind of going back to the point of like, like you don't have to be, just because you're a jazz musician doesn't mean you have to stick with just listen to jazz. Going to college for jazz. Like, listen to whatever you want. You never know. Like you might discover something in this Philo Machado record that you wanted to discover in this Miles record, but it wasn't, like, you couldn't hear it. But if you listen to his other record, you never know what you can pull out of it,
Right.
So just keep your ears open, What's another? Oh my goodness. Sweet Joseph. Daryl Johns, the bass player?
Who?
Daryl Johns.
I don't think I know.
He's he plays with like Christian Scott, Greg Osby.
Yeah,
all those, Emmanuel Wilkins.
yeah.
Like he's from New Jersey.
He's light skinned.
Yeah, 6'5".
Yep.
He has a like a indie rock band group called Sweet Joseph, and man, like I never thought I would like rock music. Yeah, you should look it up. Look up Corner Store.
All right, we are on our last section. Woo! The rapid fire questions. More like the MDetroit rapid fire questions.
This is gonna be good.
All right, we're gonna just read them off to you, and you just gotta answer as fast as you can. Quickie fast.
Random questions.
Yeah. Well,
Rapid fire, not random.
Yeah.
Oh, rapid. Okay.
Yeah, they're tailored to you.
Okay.
Top 3 tunes to play with Sabbatical Bob.
Top 3 tunes. All right. Game to Fight.
Holy shit.
What the People Say.
What is in your current music rotation?
Okay, so Plug Nickel, Live at the Purging, Ahmad Jamal,
Yes.
Philo Machado, like any Philo Machado. Lee Morgan, Sonic Boom, Pierre Bourne.
Okay.
Producer for Playboy Cardi, Lil Yachty, all the Young Nudie. T-Lot 4, Pierre Bourne.
Okay.
The Life of Pierre Bourne 4. What else? Current rotation. Thad Jones live in Basel with the Mel Lewis Orchestra
Okay.
with Joe Henderson. Freddie Hubbard Hub Tones.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the one with "You're My Everything."
Yep.
I'm literally learning that tune right now.
That's the
Yeah,
that's the
and
one.
he throws some crazy changes on there. Mm-hmm. You know, those
Herbie,
are not the standard
no,
changes.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy. James Spalding underrated. James Spalding's so underrated, man. I'm telling you.
Shoot, Esperanza Spalding underrated too.
Yeah, Esperanza. Oh, speaking of, I don't know. I was about to say that. Glasper, his new album, "Fuck Your Feelings." That's always on rotation. Yeah, that's about it.
All right, small or large ensemble?
Oh, depends. At U of M, I like small ensembles better. At MSU, I feel like big band is a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, I like big band.
Breakfast, lunch, or dinner?
Lunch, brunch.
Oh, we didn't mention that one.
That's true.
All right, cool.
Preferred method of listening.
In the car.
Okay.
NBA 2K or Madden?
2K.
Cliff Bells or Blue Llama?
Oh, damn.
Wow.
Shot fired. Either or.
That could be an answer.
I like. Oh, Cliff Bells has been around more, so Cliff Bells.
All right.
So Blue Llama's great, but Cliff Bells, that's stomping grounds.
Top 3 saxophone players.
Top 3 saxophone players. Damn it. Boy. Charlie Parker. Oh boy. I mean, of course. I mean, honestly, I put Train in a different level. And then Train is I feel like Train is the greatest of all time. My top 3 is Bird. Boy. Sonny Rollins. It's a tie between Sonny Rollins and Joe Henderson for 2.
Okay.
And Joe Lovano. Sorry.
Okay.
All right.
Got to say that's my favorite. It's my top 3.
So is there anything you want to leave with the audience before we head out?
No. Thank you guys for having me. For
Yeah,
real.
man.
Of course, man. It's our pleasure.
Yeah, man. I knew you since you were a kid.
Literally, the jazz festival was the first time I seen you in forever.
Yeah, the one time, yeah. But I've always seen you with your dad and stuff like that, so that's cool. Yeah, thanks you, Mark. Thank you, Mark, for having me. Thank you. I forgot your name again. Rob. Thank you, Rob.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. This is good vibes, man. Yeah, we should just do this without the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
That'll be
we
dope.
will.
Yeah, and kudos to whoever you get next too.
Yeah.
Who you thinking you're about to get?
So next week we have RJ Spangler and
Oh,
T-Bone
RJ.
Paxton.
Oh,
Yeah, so we got the dynamic duo.
My
And then
guys,
tomorrow-
And
Tomorrow?
and then tomorrow we have Sean Dobbins.
Okay, yeah, Sean.
And then the next week we have Marion Hayden.
right.
So
That'll be cool, man.
we got a fat lineup.
Yes, sir.
Last question: where can people find you?
You can find me on Facebook, Kasan Belgrave, Instagram, Kasan Belgrave. My name is Big San right now. I'm gonna change it to Kasan Belgrave just to make it easier.
What if there's already a Kasan Belgrave?
There
Yeah,
is-
man.
I don't think there is.
That's the right answer. That's the right answer.
I'm about to see right now. Yep, there is no Kasan Belgrave on Instagram.
Good stuff. Yeah, that was a trick question.
Opens up an account.
Yeah, but Kasan Belgrave music, Instagram, Kasan Belgrave, Facebook. Yeah, like I said, I don't really have, I don't have a SoundCloud, Bandcamp. I don't have any of that right now, but very soon, just follow me on those 2, and we'll see where it goes.
And stay tuned because we will post it.
Oh yeah,
everywhere.
Oh yeah,
on our stuff.
I mean, if it's out, I'm planning to post it everywhere. So
Yep.
So please keep us updated, and we will follow you and post anything that you want to promote, because we are all about Detroit, and we want to make sure people in Detroit know, and people outside of Detroit know what Detroit has to offer, because we are Detroit.
Detroit, the only city in the world.
There's nobody.
Nobody else, but
There's nobody like us, and nobody can take it away from us.
Nah, man, we gonna be here for a good while, man.
Right. So we thank everybody for tuning in, and I know you've been in your seat for a little bit, so we will invite you back to come sit at our table, and you enjoy the rest of your night or day or morning, and stay blessed.
All love.
Take care.
Wow, that was such a magnificent conversation.
Be sure to like, share, and subscribe on all our social media, and we hope to see you soon.